In 350 BC, Aristotle wrote something that his students thought was too obvious to record. He said, "The man who needs nothing commands everything." They didn't write it down. They thought everyone already knew it. 2,000 years later, a team of researchers at the University of California ran a controlled study on male attractiveness. They tested hundreds of variables: appearance, income, humor, intelligence, status. The single highest predictor of attraction was none of those things. It was one behavioral pattern so ancient, so primal, that Aristotle had described it in 350 BC and considered it too obvious to explain. In the next 13 minutes, we are going to unpack exactly what that pattern is, why it works, and why the men who understand it move through the world in a way most other men can only watch and wonder about. Let me take you back to a world with no Instagram, no dating apps, no self-help books, no relationship coaches. Ancient Greece, ancient Rome, the courts of China's Tang Dynasty, the warrior societies of the samurai, medieval Europe, the Ottoman Empire at its peak. Across every civilization, every culture, every continent, every era of recorded human history, there is one consistent observation embedded in the wisdom literature, the philosophical texts, the warrior codes, and the poetry of every society that has ever existed. The man who does not need her approval is the man she cannot stop thinking about. The Stoics called it apatheia, freedom from emotional dependency on external outcomes. The samurai called it zanshin, a mind with no remainder, no clinging, no grasping. The Chinese court philosophers called it wu wei, effortless action. The man who does not force, who does not strain, who does not chase. Different words, different civilizations, different centuries, same observation. Every single one of these traditions, independently of each other, arrived at the same truth about what makes a man magnetic. They had no science, no brain scans, no research methodology. They had only one laboratory, the human world in front of them. And what that world showed them, again and again, was undeniable. So what is the rule? Let me state it as simply as possible. Desire flows toward the person who needs it least. Read that again. Let it land. This is not a trick. It is not a mind game. It is a description of how attraction actually moves, as reliably and as predictably as water flowing downhill. In every domain of human life, value is perceived in inverse proportion to availability. The king who can see any subject at any moment is less sought after than the king whose time is rare. The artist who gives away paintings is less valued than the one whose work is almost impossible to obtain. The man who is always available, always eager, always ready, sends one signal, whether he means to or not. I have nothing more important than your attention. And that signal, registered instantly and unconsciously by the female brain, is not read as love. It is not read as devotion. It is not read as security. It is read as low value. Not because she is cruel, not because she is playing games, but because 2 million years of evolution have wired her brain to use scarcity as one of its most reliable indicators of worth. What is rare is valuable. What is abundant is ordinary. The ancient world knew this. They built their entire understanding of masculine magnetism on top of it. Fast forward to the 20th century. Science finally builds the tools to test what the ancient world observed intuitively. And what it found, across decade after decade of research, reads almost like someone translated the Stoic texts into a laboratory report. Finding 1. Cialdini's Scarcity Principle. Robert Cialdini, in his landmark work on influence and persuasion, documented what he called the scarcity principle. Human beings instinctively assign higher value to things and people that are less available. This is not a choice, it is a reflex, hardwired, ancient, impossible to override with logic. Finding 2. The reactive devaluation effect. Researchers at Stanford documented something that will change how you see every relationship you have ever been in. When a person perceives that someone else needs them, that the other person is emotionally dependent on their response, they unconsciously devalue that person. The neediness itself triggers a reduction in perceived worth. The very act of needing someone too much makes them need you less. Finding 3. Psychological reactance. When people sense that something, or someone, is becoming unavailable, their desire for it intensifies automatically. This is not rational. It does not respond to reason. It is a neurological reflex that activates the moment the brain perceives potential loss. The man who pulls back triggers this reflex. The man who chases prevents it from ever activating. Finding 4. The dominance-attraction link. Multiple studies across evolutionary psychology show a consistent correlation between behavioral dominance, defined not as aggression, but as the absence of submission, and female attraction ratings. Men who display calm self-sufficiency, who do not seek validation, who do not alter their behavior based on social approval, are consistently rated as more attractive than men who display the opposite pattern. The ancient world had no name for this research, but they practiced its findings every day. Here is the painful part. Everything about the way modern men are raised, every lesson, every social message, every romantic comedy, every piece of relationship advice handed down by well-meaning people is in direct conflict with this ancient rule. We are taught, show her how much you care, express your feelings, be vulnerable, be available, prioritize her, make her feel chosen. And all of that sounds right. It feels right. It feels like love. But here is what actually happens when a man does all of those things before he has built genuine self-sufficiency and inner value. He telegraphs need. He broadcasts scarcity of options. He signals, consciously or not, that she is the center of his emotional universe. And the moment she feels that, the ancient rule activates against him. She doesn't know why she starts feeling differently. She can't explain it. She might feel guilty about it. She might tell herself she should appreciate how much he cares. But the feeling is already moving, and it is moving away from him. Not because she is cold, not because she is ungrateful, but because something 2 million years old just sent her a signal she was not built to override. The harder he tries to close the distance, the wider it becomes. Let me be precise about something important. Living this rule does not mean being cold. It does not mean being distant. It does not mean withholding affection or playing games or pretending you do not care. The ancient philosophers were not describing a performance. They were describing an internal state, a way of being, not a way of acting.
The Stoic practicing apatheia was not cold. He was deeply engaged with life. He loved fiercely. But his emotional center, his sense of worth, his peace, his completeness, lived inside him, not in the hands of another person. The samurai practicing zanshin was not emotionless. He was the most present person in any room. But his presence came from wholeness, not from needing the room to validate him. In practical terms, what does this actually look like? It looks like a man who has plans of his own that he does not cancel for her approval. It looks like a man who expresses interest without anxiety, who can take or leave the outcome without his world ending. It looks like a man who listens completely but is not moved from his own center by emotional pressure. It looks like a man whose happiness existed before she arrived and would survive if she left. That last one is the most important, and it is the rarest, because most men build their happiness around the relationship. The ancient rule says, build yourself first, then bring that whole self into the relationship, and what you will create between you is something neither of you could have manufactured any other way. I want to tell you about two men. They both meet the same woman, same night, same room. She finds both of them reasonably attractive. She is equally open to both of them at the start. The first man, let us call him Marcus, goes home and texts her that night, tells her he really enjoyed meeting her, asks if she wants to get dinner. When she takes a day to respond, he texts again. When they do have dinner, he talks about how much he has been thinking about her. He clears his schedule for her. He replies instantly to every message. He tells her she is exactly what he has been looking for. Marcus means every word of it. He is not performing. He genuinely feels all of it. But after 3 weeks, she goes quiet. She starts responding slower. The energy shifts. She cannot explain why. She tells her friend, "He is a great guy. There is just something missing." She does not know that what is missing is the very thing Marcus gave away in the first week: his mystery, his autonomy, his completeness. Now the second man. Call him Darius.
Darius texts her 2 days later, not because he's playing games, but because he had other things going on. His text is warm but short. They make plans. He does not cancel his training session to see her sooner. He is fully present at dinner, genuinely interested. But when she tests him with a small emotional challenge, he does not scramble to fix it. He just stays calm. He does not tell her she is what he has been looking for. He does not clear his life for her. He does not need anything from her to feel good about himself. And 3 weeks later, she is the one who cannot stop thinking about him. She is the one initiating. She is the one wondering what he is doing. She is the one feeling something she has not felt in years. Marcus and Darius. Same woman, same starting point, completely different outcomes. The only difference was the ancient rule. Aristotle said it. The samurai lived it. The Stoics built a philosophy around it, and a century of modern research confirmed it with data. The man who needs nothing commands everything. This is not about becoming cold, not about becoming unavailable, not about withholding who you are. It is about becoming so complete, so full of your own purpose, your own standards, your own peace, that your presence in someone's life becomes a gift, not a plea. A gift does not chase. It does not justify its worth. It does not adjust its value based on whether it is accepted. It simply arrives, whole, complete,
and undeniable. Be the gift, not the beggar. That is the ancient rule. That is what science confirmed. And that is what the men who have always moved through life differently have quietly known all along. If this unlocks something for you, subscribe to Mind Tactics Lab. Every week we go deeper into the psychology, the philosophy, and the ancient wisdom that the modern world forgot to teach you. Leave a comment. Are you more like Marcus or more like Darius? Be honest. That answer is the beginning of everything. I will see you in the next one.